بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن سهلا إذا شئت آمين. Okay, so just let me know if you hear some background noise. I have some family over right now, so they might, a couple of kids over too, so it might get a little loud. Okay, so we finished Suratul Bayyinah, Suratul Lam Yakun, and then we did like, what is it, 4 or 5 ayahs, I think, of Suratul Zilzal. So we'll just go over that quickly. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So ayah number 1 of Suratul Bayyinah, لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين منفكين حتى تأتيهم البينة. Oh no, this isn't open. Uh, sorry. Okay, so لم يكن الذين كفروا. Okay, never would those who have disbelieved amongst the people of the scripture, amongst the Ahlul Kitab, as well as the polytheists or idolaters, have parted ways or have parted from their fixed ways until there had come to them a clear proof. Al-Bayyina, the clear proof. So the like we, one point that I had mentioned was that as we could see here, this is completely refuting the perennialist ideology, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, in that people have the belief that all religions are true and that all people of all religions will any sort of belief in God or the hereafter will eventually uh, enter paradise. But we see here that Allah Ta'ala is calling these individuals of Ahlul Kitab and the Mushrikun from the people of الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And then, of course, الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا later on in the surah and many other places. فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. Okay, they're going to be in the hellfire with no chance of escape, and they're always going to be in there residing forever. رسول من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة. So Rasul is the badal, I believe what was mentioned that was mentioned by Tashil of al-Bayyina. So it's basically badal. It's if you put it in the place of the first sentence, it has the same exact function. So حتى تأتيهم البينة أي حتى تأتيهم رسول من الله. Okay. من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة. What is one of the functions of this prophet? It's that he is يتلو صحفا مطهرة. He is reciting to them the scriptures which are pure. مطهرة from many things. From their what are they pure from? You could say from any تغير in the kalam, in the lafz, and in the ma'na that Allah Ta'ala, we know in Surah An-Nahl, I believe, ayah number 15, that Allah Ta'ala says that He Himself is taking the responsibility to preserve this Quran. So it is pure in that aspect. And Mufti Shafi, I believe, mentions a few more, so you can check it out there. فِيهَا كُتُبٌ قَيِّمَةٌ, ayah number 3, in which there are decisive and upright commandments. So there are decisive and upright commandments. And then Allah Ta'ala explains this ayah number 3 a bit more. وَمَا تَفَرَّقَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ in ayahs 4 and 5 explains ayah number 3. وَمَا تَفَرَّقَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَةُ. Nor did those who were previously given the scripture, they were given their books. Nor did those who were previously given the scripture divide until after the clear proof of the revealed truth had come to them, whether it be the Quran or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course, it's what is this talking about first? It's the Jews and the Christians who had signs to look out for because they knew of a prophet that was eminent and that he was going to be emerging soon, that he was going to be he too was going to be claiming prophethood, and that he'd be revealed a book and he'd have certain qualities. So they knew to look out for these things. But it is when that prophet came, that's when they all started. They didn't accept it, even though they were supposed to, and that's what they were looking out for. Additionally, what was one other thing? There was one more thing that I just wanted to mention. Where'd it go? Okay, yeah, the other thing was that this could be referring to the Prophet, or it could just also be referring to the Quran. But I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, right? Okay, إلا من بعد ما جاءتهم البينة وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين. What the only thing that they're being commanded to do, both this could apply both to the teachings of the Quran as well as the previous teachings. They're being told to only worship Allah Ta'ala. وما أمروا, they're not being told to do except for these few couple of things. ليعبدوا Allah, that they worship Allah Ta'ala مخلصين له الدين حنفاء, and that they be mukhlis in their that they be sincere, making their practice of their religion مخلصين له الدين, pure for him, making their practice of the religion pure for him, حنفاء, and that they be upright of heart. وَيُقِيمُ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Those are the three things that this ayah at least is saying that they're being told to do, and that is that they should establish prayer as well as give charity. Like, how is that so different than what you've been taught to? Like, what crazy thing is this Quran coming with that's just making you be so uh, conf- um, confrontational in denying it when it's preaching the same things that the previous prophets preached to you and your people? Um, so that's why I said it explains ayah number 3 as well. فيها كتب قيمة. It's these upright commandments that you are familiar with, that you shouldn't be turning away from. ذلك دين القيمة, and that is the upright religion. وذلك دين القيمة, and that is the upright religion. Ayah number 6, إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم خالدين فيها. Sorry. Indeed, إن الذين كفروا. Indeed, those individuals who disbelieve, from من أهل الكتاب والمشركين, from amongst the people of the book and the polytheists and the idolaters, في نار جهنم خالدين فيها. They shall be in the fire of Jahannam, residing in it forever. خالدين فيها. أولئك هم شر البرية. Those individuals, they are the ones who are the worst of creation. Bariya, also in a different qira'ah, bari'ah, they are the worst of creation. Bara'a means for like Allah Ta'ala, well, when you say like Allah Ta'ala did bara'a, that means He created something, so they are the worst of creation. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك هم خير البرية. And as for those individuals, indeed those individuals who believe وعملوا الصالحات, and they do righteous deeds, those individuals are the best of creation, khairul bariya. And like I think I had said this in the last class, but it's these type of ayat you have to be very careful when reciting, because you don't want to switch them, and you know, for like a previous ayah, we don't want to say that these people who disbelieve in Allah Ta'ala, they're going to be in the hellfire. Ulaikum khairul bariya, na'udhu billah. Okay, and likewise the opposite for ayah number 7, أولئك هم شر البرية, by saying that they are the worst of creation, the people who believe in Allah Ta'ala and do righteous deeds. So those are those things that are such major mistakes in terms of there's other things as well, but when you say these sorts of things, or when someone says something like this, then that could break the salah. As well as, so this is something I point out to my Hifz kids, as well as like in Suratul Layl, I think I had mentioned as well, فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. You don't want to mix those up. Surah Al-Baqarah, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. So those types of things. Anyways, ayah number 8, the final verse. Yeah. جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا. So their compensation for the hum, referring to the previously mentioned people in ayah number 7, الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات, their compensation with their Lord shall be جنات عدن, everlasting gardens. تجري من تحتها الأنهار. تجري, to flow, to for this a stream to flow smoothly. تجري من تحتها الأنهار, in which rivers will flow underneath it. خالدين فيها أبدا, and they shall be residing in it forever, forever and ever. رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه, they are pleased with Allah Ta'ala is pleased with them. رضي الله, the fa'il, ورضوا عنه, and they are pleased with him. ذلك لمن خشي ربه, and that is for the one who fears his Lord. And I think I had mentioned here that the khashya is, of course, it's not like just fear for fear's sake. How a person, I think Mufti Shafi had given the example of like how a person might fear like a vicious animal or like their enemy or something, whatever. But this is fear as due to a fear that's built out of awe and of respect. Okay, let me see if I just skipped anything. Yeah, there's a couple opinions for munfakina, but we skip that. Some Arab stuff, but yeah, I think we could. Yeah, that's good. Inshallah. Okay, and then for the few ayahs of Surah al-Zilzal that we did. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أَثْقَالَهَا وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا. Maybe we did one more ayah, but anyways. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ. When the zulzila means to shake. زلزل يزلزل زلزل is the فعل مجهول. So when the earth is shaken, when the earth quakes violently with its final quaking. وزلزالها مصدر إنما أضيف إليها تهويلا كأنه يقول الزلزال الذي يليق بها على عظمة جرمها. So the zilzal here at the end of the verse, this is the masdar that's being brought for ta'keed and to show how the immense and how intense this shaking will be. وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها, and the earth shall um, how would you say it? When the earth expels its burdens, afqal, burdens. So when the earth expels its burdens, and there's two different opinions regarding this. It could be referring to the al-mauta, the dead, when أخرج الأرض أثقالها, and this is the opinion that he actually brings first. So most likely this is the opinion that he's she, and then he says qil for the next one. So he says that the first opinion is that it's referring to the dead. The earth will expel all the people from their graves. And then the reason that this is supported, that this opinion is better than or stronger than the second opinion, which is that al kunuz, that the earth is going to expel from it like the gold and all the different valuable minerals and different things like that. The reason that this opinion, the second opinion, is weaker is because the context of the surah doesn't seem to indicate that this is what it's talking about. It's talking more about the qiyamah and how as we'll get to, the deeds are going to be weighed and those types of things. So and that أخرجت الأرض أثقالها, and to say that the and of course the mota, the dead people, are going to be expelled from the earth on the day of judgment, whereas the kunuz are going to happen much before that, during the time of Isa alayhi salam. وقال الإنسان ما لها, and يتعجب من شأنها فيحتمل أن يريد جنس الإنسان أو الكافر خاصة. And people will be asking, like, what's wrong with it? Just out of not denying that it's happening, but just out of sheer shock. Al-insan could be referring to all of mankind, like all individuals, or it could be referring to وقال الكافر ما لها. It's the disbeliever in reality who's going to be asking, like, what is going on? Because, as we know, the Muslim is going to be saying هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. This is what Allah Ta'ala has promised. He's already told us about this. He's promised this. He's promised us this. This is what the messengers have been telling us about, that this is the day that we need to be preparing for, so that we could make sure that we don't end up in the hellfire. يومئذ تحدث أخبارها. Okay, I think this might have been where we stopped, but or we didn't do this verse. But so I'm just gonna basically start here, like from fresh. Okay. يومئذ تحدث أخبارها. هذا عبارة عما يحدث فيها من الأهوال، فهو مجاز وحديث بلسان الحال، وقيل هو شهادتها على الناس بما عملوا على ظهرها، فهو حقيقة. And on that day, it will relate all the different أخبارها. It will relate all of the events. أخبار, the events. تحدث حدث يحدث تحديث comes from the root of hadaltha, which we get the word hadith from, which is of course to speak, and of course we use that for the sayings of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the earth itself will be speaking about this is what Fulan did on this piece of earth, and this is the good deeds that he committed, and this is what Fulan did on this piece of earth, and these are the bad deeds that he committed. تحدث يتعدى إلى مفعولين، حذف الأول منهما والتقدير تحدث الخلق أخبارها. I think I went over this, but let me just go through it. تحدث, it takes two maf'uls. Okay, تحدث. So the first one is not mentioned here. أخبارها is the second maf'ul, and it says the taqdir, what's missing and what's hidden, what's understood, is that تحدث الخلق أخبارها. It will inform the people of all of the different events that took place. وانتزع بعض المحدثين. Okay, we can skip that. وتحدثه العامل في إذا ويومئذ بدل من إذا، ويجوز أن يكون العامل في إذا مضمرا. Okay, بأن ربك أوحى لها. الباء سببية متعلقة ب تحدث، أي تحدث بسبب أن الله أوحى لها. So this ba, one of the functions of ba is that we say, for example, we say كتبت بالقلم, right? I wrote with the help of the pen. Like the pen was the tool. But another function of the ba is that it could be for sababiyya. Actually, I think this came up before in one of the in Surat al-Shams. What was the verse? فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم. Yeah. فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم. So ba is ba for sababiyya. Sabab, for anyone who speaks Urdu as well, it means the cause, the reason. So why is it تحدث أخبارها? Why is it doing this? بأن ربك أوحى لها. Because that is what its Lord, that is what your Lord is commanding for the earth to do. It is this ba is sababiyya in this ayah, just like how it was in the Surah Shams ayah. فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنْبِهِمْ. So Allah Ta'ala completely crushed them, wave after wave of punishment, بِذَنْبِهِمْ, due to their sin. Okay? Due to. You could translate the Basabiyya as بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا. يحتمل أن يكون بأن ربك أوحى لها بدلا من أخبارها وهذا كما تقول تحدث كذا وحدثت كذا وحدثت بكذا. معنى على هذا تحدث بحديث الوحي لها. Okay, وهذا الوحي يحتمل أن يكون إلهاما أو كلاما بواسطة. Okay, so now what he's mentioning here is what exactly is this, the nature of the earth speaking? Is that literal? Is that like what is that exactly? So one thing that he mentions بأن ربك وحالها, which is what I had said, it's ba sababiyya. That's the first opinion. The second opinion is that يحتمل أن يكون بأن ربك وحالها بدلا من أخبارها. So this ayah number 5 is a badal of that last word in ayah number 4. So basically, as we just said, it just came in the previous surah. حتى تأتيهم البينة رسول من الله, right? So the رسول من الله is a badal of al-bayyinah. So it gives the same meaning as saying حتى تأتيهم رسول من الله. So now similarly, the ayah number 5 is a badal of that final word in ayah number 4. So it's like saying يومئذ تحدث بأن ربك أوحى لها, or يومئذ تحدث أن ربك أوحى لها. So um, this ba is being brought to show that it's a badal. So for example, you could say حدثت كذا وحدثت بكذا. So when you use the word حدث of tahdith, the fi'l of حدث, then you could use the sila of the ba. Like the ba would be it's زائد over here most likely. والمعنى على هذا تحدث بحديث الوحي لها. So now what is this wahi? What is this like what exactly does this mean? هذا الوحي يحتمل أن يكون, there's two possibilities. It's ilhaman, that the Allah Ta'ala is just straight up inspiring the earth to speak about this and that. And of course, that's Allah Ta'ala could do as He wishes. That's nothing far-fetched. It's not like that's so difficult for Allah Ta'ala to do, even though it might be difficult for us to understand. أو كلاما بواسطة الملائكة. Or this is that the malaika are the the middleman here, that they're actually reporting on behalf of the earth. ولها بمعنى إليها وقيل معناه أوحى إلى الملائكة من أجلها وهذا بعيد. Which لها is this referring to? بأن ربك أوحى لها إليها. Okay. لها, he says بمعنى إليها, that Allah Ta'ala is inspiring it, has sent His inspiration to the earth. Probably should have mentioned this, but al-ard, although it doesn't have like a ta'ut tathnith at the end, or like how we say sayyaratun, right? And then every time if you want to say like a big car, you would say sayyaratun kabiratun, right? It would have to match al-ard, even though it doesn't have that. It's mu'annath sama'i, that it's mu'annath, it's just treated as a feminine word. That's why it's al-zilzalaha, zulzilat, that ta at the end to show the wa akhrajat. Okay, وقال الإنسان ما لها again. So yeah, well, most probably you guys knew that though. ولا قيل يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا. معنى أشتاتا مختلفين في أحوالهم وواحد الأشتات شت. Okay, so أشتات is the jama', the singular is shattun. I think another jama' is shatit. This word came up before, no? Ashtat. Where do you guys remember where it came up? Um, I mean, yeah, for there to be like various groups. So يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا. Number 6. On that day, all people shall issue forth from their graves in divergent multitudes to be shown their deeds. ليروا أعمالهم. Okay, يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا. يصدر صدر يصدر, like to face, to come out, to yeah, pretty much. So that day they'll be coming out from their graves ashtatan in various different groups. Okay, ashtatan. Okay. وصدر الناس هو انصرافهم عن من موضع وردهم. فقيل الورد هو الدفن في القبور والصدر هو القيام للبعث. وقيل الورد القيام للحشر والصدر الانصراف إلى الجنة أو إلى النار وهذا أظهر فيه تفاوت بين أحوال الناس فيذكرون أشتاتا. Okay. Okay, if I had to make like a what are those called? Like those charts, like those tree chart thingies. It's gonna be like all over the place. So this is it might be get a little bit wordy right now. So he says, what does it mean for sadrun nas? Yasdurun nas. What does that mean exactly? It means huwa insirafuhum min mawdi'i wirdihim. It is their coming out, as we had said, from the place of their wird. The wird is not like the Sufi zikr and like the like the litanies as we commonly translate it, but now he's going to define what does it mean? What is that? What is their wird? And there's a few different opinions regarding that. Al wird wa dafn fil qubur. So it's their coming out from their qubur, from their graves. والصدر هو القيام للبعث. So it's their sadr from their wird. It means that they're standing out of their graves to be judged. Okay, standing out of their graves to be judged. Okay, like, I guess we could. That's the first opinion. Second one is going to be الورد القيام للحشر والصدر الانصراف إلى الجنة أو إلى النار وهذا أظهر. The wird he's saying it's just they're standing up to be standing in that plane before they're even judged. القيام للبعث. It's their resurrection. Okay, no, okay. Let me rephrase this. Um, with some better English words to translate it. The first opinion, it's wird is that they're coming out of their graves. The sadr is referring to that they're being resurrected. They're coming out of their graves resurrected in different multitude and different groups. Ashtatan. The second one is that they're being resurrected to stand on the plane before they're judged. That's the wird. And the sadr is that they're being الانصراف إلى الجنة أو إلى النار وهذا أظهر فيه يعظم التفاوت بين أحوال الناس. That the sadr is that they're being driven to different whether it be they're being driven to إلى الجنة أو إلى النار, that they're different people are being driven to different groups of whether it be Jannah due to their the reward that they're going to get, or it's going to be to the different levels of the hellfire due to the severity of their crimes and what Allah Ta'ala decides for them. And he says وَهَذَا أَظْهَرُ, and this is apparent. This is the better opinion, I guess you could say, loosely translated, because this would mean that this there's more. Allah Ta'ala says ashtatan, and He chose that word for a reason. So this understanding is it better fits the word that Allah Ta'ala has used, pretty much. That there's more groups and more divergent multitudes, as He says, when you take the second opinion of people having to stand to be judged, and those different groups of people being taken to their respective places, whether it be in Jannah or Jahannam. That's even more groups. That results in a lot more groups. Okay. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى. And for those in this is some great stuff here that he mentions. And for those individuals, فمن يعمل, and whoever performs مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى. Whoever does an atom's weight of good shall see it. Wait, we skipped something. ليروا أعمالهم, so that they can be shown their deeds. And eye number 6. He doesn't say anything about this particularly over here. I think Jalalain said something, but yeah, it's fine. Excuse me. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى. And so whoever does an atom's weight of good, he shall see it. Al-mithqal huwa al-wazn. Mithqal means scale or weight. ذرة هي النملة الصغيرة. It's like a really, really, really tiny seed. Okay, whoever does even that much good, he shall see it. He shall witness it. والرؤية هنا ليست برؤية بصر وإنما هي عبارة عن الجزاء. What's being intended here is not that he's going to literally see it, although that of course too what we'll talk about in a bit. I think it comes up in Surah al-Qari'ah that the a'mal will be weighed, of course. So he's not denying that. He's just saying that this is being used as a metaphor in terms of that it's not like any good deed that a person did, no matter how small it is, it's not gonna like be forgotten. It's not like it's going to be left out. Okay. وذكر الله مثقال ذرة تنبيها على ما هو أكثر منه من طريق الأولى كأنه قال من يعمل قليلا أو كثيرا. So of course مثقال ذرة, if even that tiny amount of good is not going to be forgotten about, if it's not going to be like looked over, then of course anything bigger than that is going to be also not looked over. It's not going to be forgotten about. وهذه الآية هي في المؤمنين لأن الكافر لا يجازى في الآخرة على حسناته إذا لم تقبل منه. This ayah is of course فمن يعمل, although it's very عام. It's not like it's saying فمن يعمل من المسلمين. It's not saying that whoever from amongst the Muslims does good, he's going to see it. That is the understanding. Because هذه الآية هي في المؤمنين. So this ayah number 7 is referring only to the believers. Because a disbeliever لا يجازى في الآخرة على حسناته. He's not going to be compensated for his good deeds in the akhirah. Although I believe Mufti Shafi and many people, I think this is commonly said too, that the kafir he'll be compensated for his good deeds in this worldly life. لأن الكافر لا يجازى في الآخرة على حسناته إذا لم تقبل منه, because the good deeds of a kafir are not accepted from him in the akhirah. واستدل أهل السنة بهذه الآية أنه لا يخلد مؤمن في النار لأنه لو خلد لم يرى ثوابا على إيمانه وعلى ما عمل من الحسنات. So the Ahlul Sunnah, us, we say that this ayah proves that the mu'min will not be in the hellfire forever. How does it prove that? Because if he was to be in the hellfire forever, then he would never see the khayran yara. He would never see the good that his iman in his heart, um, the good and he'll never see like the fruits of that amal that he did, which was believe in Allah Ta'ala. Does that make sense? If he was in the hellfire forever, then he will never be rewarded for his iman. And that would go against this ayah. So this proves that the mu'min, even if he enters the hellfire, he will not be in there forever. وروي عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها أنها تصدقت بحبة عنب فقيل لها في ذلك فقالت كم فيها من مثقال ذرة. So pretty much one time Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she gave um, a grape seed in sadaqah, like that, or I don't know if maybe not like a literal one, like a literal grape seed, but or just maybe something that was not so much in value, and someone said something to her, like what's the point of that type of statement? Okay, like that's pretty much what they said, and then she said that, well, look, this ayah, she quoted this ayah saying that this is mithqal dharra, and that this is still something that's going to get me reward. سمع رجل هذه الآية عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال حسبي لا أبالي ألا أسمع غيرها. سبحان الله. There was a man who heard this ayah. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يراه. He's going to see it. Whoever does any type of good, he's going to see it. A man, he heard this from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He heard this ayah from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, "Hasbi." That's it. That's game over. That's done deal. لا أبالي ألا أسمع غيرها. I don't care if I hear anything else. This much is enough. ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يرى. Okay, هذا على عمومه في حق الكفار. Now this is referring to the disbelievers. فمن يعمل فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يراه. وأما المؤمنون فلا يجزون بذنوبهم إلا بستة شروط. Okay, so and whoever does an atom's weight of bad, he shall see it. So this in general, in the most general sense, is referring to the disbelievers. It could possibly refer to the believer. فلا يجزون بذنوبهم إلا بستة شروط. But the believer, the Muslim, he's only going to see the evil effects, and he's only going to be punished if 6 things are missing. And I'm about to list those 6 things out right now. If 6 things are missing, then this ayah will apply to the believer as well. Okay. So the first is that أن تكون ذنوبهم كبائر. So if his bad deeds are from the kaba'ir. They're not from the sagha'ir, like the major bad deeds. Then he will see it. For example, he like zina or drinking alcohol, eating, earning haram wealth, eating haram things. He'll face the consequences for his evil deeds if they're from the kaba'ir. أن يموت قبل التوبة منها. And if he will not see it, however, the second thing is that if he was to die without making tawbah, then he will see it. But of course, if he makes tawbah, then he won't see it. وألا تكون لهم حسنات أرجح في الميزان منها. And as well as he doesn't have any other good deeds that could make the bad deeds void, that could nullify them, just cancel them out. That's number three. Number four is no one intercedes for him. Allah, no, that there's no shafa'ah that's being done for him. That's number four. Sorry. Number five, وَأَنَّ يَكُونُوا مِمَّنْ اسْتَحَقَّ الْمَغْفِرَةَ بِأَعْمَالٍ كَأَهْلِ بَدْرٍ. And so long as this person is not someone who is deserving of maghfirah, of forgiveness, due to a huge, huge, great amal that they performed. For example, the Ahl Badr. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said something to the like of, like the Ahl Badr, like they're all forgiven. That like no, like you could write it off. Nothing that they do is gonna affect them in negatively, and Allah Ta'ala he's written them from amongst the people, the Ahlul Jannah. Okay, so if it's not as so if a person is from that group of the Ahlul Badr, then of course it doesn't matter. There's sins. وإن لا يعفو الله عنهم فإن المؤمن العاصي في مشيئة الله إن شاء يعذبه وإن شاء غفر له. And a person will only see the sixth thing is that if Allah Ta'ala decides not to forgive a person, then the Muslim who is a asi, the sinful Muslim, I mean, he is in the mashia of Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala can do whatever He wills with him. If He wants, He can punish him. If Allah Ta'ala wills, He can um, forgive him for his sins. So those are the six things. That the sin shouldn't be from the kaba'ir, it shouldn't be a major sin. That if he had made tawbah before he died, then he's forgiven. If he doesn't have any good deeds to cancel out the bad deeds, then he'll see the bad deeds. If no one makes shafa'ah for him, if he's not from a group of people, a group of individuals due to the amal that they did, that they are deserving of maghfirah, of forgiveness. And the sixth thing is that if Allah Ta'ala just decides not to forgive him. If those six things are missing, then yes, the person will see um, an individual, a Muslim will see his evil deeds. Surat al-Adiyat. Okay, this is tough. Okay, this is tough. Give me a second. Let me zoom out real quick. Okay. Al-Adiyat ضبحا. Anyone want to give this a shot? Surah Adiyat was like something. The words are just difficult. I remember we did this with Mulana Sub. Let me share the specific translation that he gave us. والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا فوسطن به جمعا. Hey, someone just rang my doorbell. I just want to make sure I don't have to get up. Anyways, والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا. Mufti Shafi Sab, that's the wrong one. He mentions these words in quite some detail, so we can read through that. Okay, so there's two things pretty much mentioned in this. We're going to be talking about horses. Okay, we're going to be talking about horses and how they were used to perform like raids by the Arabs in their, like they would just use the horses to like ransack villages pretty much. And the second thing that we're going to be talking about is إن الإنسان لربه لكنود وإنه على ذلك لشديد وإنه لحب الخير وإنه على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد. That Allah Ta'ala, after talking about horses, he starts talking about how man is disobedient, how he himself is aware that he's disobedient, how he himself is and how he has an intense love for wealth. So now, what do these two things have to do with each other? What does horses have to do with a man's disobedience and his love for wealth? Mufti Saab, he talks about this in the beginning, and he says in this surah, Allah Ta'ala describes the special features of war horses and chargers and swears or chargers and swears by them. The subject of the oath states that man is very ungrateful to his Lord. The Jawab al Qasam. So al-Adiyat al those are all the qasams. Why is the qasam being taken? Because the Jawab al Qasam, which we'll discuss in a bit more detail. It has been explained time and time again previously that it is the prerogative of Allah Ta'ala to swear by any of His creatures to recount an event or set down ordinances. It is not permitted for any of the human beings to take an oath by any of the creatures. That's something important to mention. A person, if they're going to take an oath, they can only take an oath by Allah Ta'ala. Okay, so specifically in the ahadith, it mentions, I remember doing this in Mishkat and the other works that we went through, that a person should, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he forbade swearing by, by a person's mom or dad or like their lineage or like any special individual in their families. You shouldn't like take an oath by them. So now, by that logic, maybe this might be good for me to just double check with one of the muftis at DS. But like a lot of times we say, for example, we'll be like on my mama, right? Stuff like that on the dead homies. Just fine. But like those things, like that's a qasam on the dead home on my mama. You're taking a qasam on, like, so that wording is to take a qasam pretty much on my grandmother's grave, right? Those things. So those are all wordings of qasam. So those things would not be allowed. Person should only take an oath by Allah Ta'ala. Why? Because a qasam is to show the seriousness, both the seriousness of your statement as well as the greatness of the thing that you're taking qasam on. No one's gonna be like, I'm taking a qasam on um something insignificant, like this Kleenex box. I'm taking qasam on my topi, on my shirt, my jubba. So those, like, you don't take a qasam on something that's like not significant. Okay, so yeah, go ahead. Um, yeah, well, fiqhan maybe, but like in terms of the fiqh, would it be like something sinful? Maybe, maybe not. But I know specifically it is inappropriate to address Allah Ta'ala with um like things that aren't so, like a person shouldn't, although Allah Ta'ala, okay, so we say Allah Ta'ala, ya akram al-akramin, ya arham al-rahimin, right? The most merciful of those who show mercy, the most noble of those who have nobility. Allah Ta'ala in reality is also khaliqul shaitan wal khanazir. Allah Ta'ala is also the creator of shaitan and pigs and swine. But we don't make dua to Allah Ta'ala by taking those names, right? It's su'ul adab. It's bayadabi, it's not the proper etiquette. And Bejuri mentions, yeah, he mentions that a person, the only time they should be like, the only time that phrase should be said, Ya Allah, Ya Khaliq al-Shaytan wal Khanazir. The only time that should be said is Mawdi' al-Ta'lim. It's when a person is actually explaining the masala. So that's the only time, inshallah, I'm gonna be saying this in my life. Yeah, but that's fun. But yeah, so like you're saying, how would it the sentence be then? I'm taking a qasam on the creator of my mother, the creator of my nani's headstone. I don't know. Yeah, those. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But definitely that'd be falling into the Bayadabi, the Bayadabi side of it. And, okay, what was I saying? Yeah. So a person, it is not permitted for any human being to take an oath by any of the creatures. The purpose of swearing an oath is to confirm or give weight to a subsequently stated truth. It is also mentioned earlier that when the Holy Quran takes an oath on an object, it has some correlation to the subject of the surah. So this is pretty much what I wanted to mention. Here, the hard tasks of the war horses are called to bear testimony to the fact that man is very ungrateful for Allah Ta'ala's favors. So the first couple of ayahs the talks about like the scene of the battlefield and how intense it is for the horse and what's going on, and like how of a emergency situation it is for, just like a life and death type of thing. And then Allah Ta'ala says that man is ungrateful. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. So what is this, the connection between that he mentioned? In other words, man needs to look at the horses, especially the war horses, who risk their lives to travel under very dangerous and difficult conditions, especially in the battlefields, where they follow the commands of their masters. Whereas man has not created them, he has not even created the fodder that he gives to them to eat. His task is merely to give to them the fodder that Allah Ta'ala has created. The horses recognize and acknowledge this little favor that the man does for them, and they show a sense of loyalty, right? And they are even prepared to risk their lives and bear the greatest of hardships. The only reason, like the horse who's willing to go die on that battlefield with the owner is because he has a loyalty to his owner. So as against this, Allah Ta'ala has created man with an insignificant drop of sperm and endowed him with the highest of faculties, abilities, intellect, senses to perform various types of tasks, thus making him the crown of his creation. He, Allah Ta'ala, provided him with everything. He provided him with all of his food, faculties, and created for him all of his needs and necessities in an amazing manner, but man does not recognize and acknowledge any of these sublime favors, nor does he express his gratitude to his Lord. Okay, so to his creator. So it shows the connection of the qasam and the jawab al-qasam, of taking an oath by the horses, and to say that man is ungrateful is to show that there is a gratitude, a lesson of gratitude that we could learn and we could take ibrah from the loyalty that the horse has with the to his owner. Now, as for the words, which is why I had originally pulled this up, is that the word adiyat. This is on page. This is the final volume on page 859. If you guys want to read along, 859. The word adiyat. Adiyat is derived from the root. He says adw, from ain dal wow. Ain dal wow. There's some type of ta'lil going on, which is why it becomes the ya and all that stuff. Okay. Adiwat becomes adiyat. Yeah. They are most likely, if I'm remembering correctly, the kasra on the dal, which means to run. Okay, well, adiyati. Okay, so the adiyat is the ism fa'il of that, from that verb of ada ya'du, yeah, to gallop, that's what it's with. Hey, can you guys still see me? Yeah. Whoa. Okay. It didn't used to do that before. Now it's like actually like if I had gone to a different part of like if I went out of the app, then it just closed. Like I think the camera closed off and stuff, but you would still be able to hear me. That's cool. Yeah, ada yadu, to run, speed, gallop, dash, race. Okay. Um, the word dabah, wal adiyati dabaha, by the charred, by the war horses panting. Okay. So dabaha is panting, or the neighing, the deep, deep neighing of the horse, where of course when it's exerting all that energy, it's of course making these deep, deep huffing noises when it's on the battlefield. Wal adiyati dabaha. And dabah means the sound coming out of the chest of a horse when it runs fast and breathes laboriously, panting. The word muriyati, okay, so I number two. فالموريات قدحا, and by the striking sparks. Yeah, فالموريات قدحا, and by the striking sparks. For when yani the due to the galloping of the horses, of course when they're running really really fast, they could pop the and then they have their hooves on their feet, and then depending on the terrain, could possibly make those little sparks that from the metal touching the whatever material that it's running on. فالموريات قدحا. Where is this? The word muriyat is the ism fa'il of the word ira'a. Ira. So this means to strike or produce fire with a particular piece of wood. The word qadah, فالموريات قدحا, means to strike or produce fire with a flint, striking sparks or fire when the horse runs on a rocky ground with horseshoes on, with the hooves on. The word فالمغيرات is the ism fa'il of the word إغارة. The إغارة means to attack or to make a sudden hostile excursion upon an enemy. فالمغيرات صبحا, we'll translate it as, and by the raiders raiding at the break of dawn. So by the individuals attacking, subaha. Subah, like subah, morning. So by the raiders attacking in the time of dawn. فالمغيرات صبحا. This time has been specifically mentioned because it was the practice of the Arabs to attack their enemy at dawn, yani when they could see in the light, and not attack at night in order to show off their bravery. They thought making a hostile excursion on the enemy in the darkness of night was an act of cowardice. The word أثرنا فأثرن به نقعا. How would we translate that? We'll translate it as stirring up there with a cloud of dust. فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ نَقَعَ. Stirring up نَقَعَ, a cloud of dust. Of course, now when a whole bunch of raiders and horses are coming, then especially on the desert sand, what's going to happen is going to be a trail that's going to be building behind and following them. فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ نَقَعَ. The word أثرنا is derived from إثارة alif tha ra, which means to raise dust. The word naqa means dust. This implies that the dust becomes stirred up and spread upon the horizon, especially in the morning when the horses run fast. Normally, this is not the time for clouds of dust to fly in this way, unless it was caused by very fast running. فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا. And they enter at the same time, جَمْعًا, together. فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ. They are in the wasat. They're in the middle. They enter at the same time in the center of the of like the enemy ranks. وَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا. In other words, they penetrate into the center of the enemy forces without the least degree of fear. Okay, those are the first five ayahs, which are notoriously difficult to remember and to translate. Let me just. فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا. I just want to check if maybe Muasab gave us a different tarjuma than what I just read out. وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. By the horses who gallop. وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. The horses who gallop. فَالْمُغْرِيَاتِ قَدْحًا. And uh, by the sparks when they strike. فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا. By the attackers in the morning. By the raiders in the morning. Pretty much the same, maybe just not as fancy. Most likely I probably just wrote it down in my own words. So فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا, to stir up dust. فوسطن به جمعا, and to penetrate together into the enemy forces. Okay. فأثرن به نقعا. All right, great. إن الإنسان لربه لكنود. Indeed, man to his Lord is surely lakanud is kanud. Okay, let's go through the different translations for the different explanations for kanud. We could just mention that it means ungrateful. So, and surely man is ungrateful to his Lord. According to Hassan al-Basri, rahimahullah, he refers to the one who counts the calamity. Oh, so sorry. The word kanud, according to Hassan al-Basri, refers to the one who counts the calamities that befall him and he forgets all the favors. Like he's trying to keep a tab on Allah Ta'ala, saying that Allah Ta'ala did um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bad things to me in the last week, as opposed to counting all the good, great things that he should be making shukr for. That's the first one. Hassan Basri, counting the calamities and ignoring the bad. Number two, Abu Bakr Wasiti said that Qanud is the one who spends the bounties of Allah Ta'ala for sinful purposes. The one who is spending the bounties of Allah Ta'ala for sinful purposes. Number three, Tirmidhi said that Qanud is the one who looks at the bounty and not at the one who gave him the bounty. He focuses solely on, and he has a love for this bounty that's given to him, doesn't show any appreciation to how he got that bounty. So those are the three. In short, all of these interpretations lead to the sense of ungratefulness to favors and bounties, and hence the expression kanud means ungrateful. Oh, I still gotta go to this heel stuff. Yeah, he mentions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things for those first couple of ayat, which we could skip through. You mentioned skip that, skip that, skip that. I mean, I'm not skipping any like information. It's just reiter. It's the same thing. فأثرن به نقاعا. النقع غبار. Okay. فوسطن به جمعا. إن الإنسان لربه وقنوت. هذا جواب القسم. This ayah number 6 is the جواب القسم. Why was all those oaths taken? Why was that whole scene of the battlefield of the raiders of the war horses being described? To For this purpose. إن الإنسان لربه لكنود. والكنود الكفور للنعمة. فالتقدير إن الإنسان لنعمة ربه لكفور. So Kanud means ungratefulness for a bounty and blessing that was given. So the taqdir is in reality إن الإنسان لنعمة ربه لكفور. to the bounties and the blessings of his Lord, he is ungrateful. وَإِنسان جنس. وقيل الكنود العاصي. Yeah, he just we mentioned that the Abu Bakr Wasiti opinion. وقال بعض الصوفية الكنود الذي يعبد الله على عوض. SubhanAllah. He says some of the Sufiya mentioned that this is for a person to worship. The word kanud means for a person to worship Allah Ta'ala. Um, let's say unsincerely, but not unsincerely in like a shirky sense, but unsincerely in the sense of he's not worshiping Allah Ta'ala to worship Allah Ta'ala because Allah Ta'ala is great in all of his um, qualities and all those different things. But he's only worshiping Allah Ta'ala because he just wants to save himself from Jahannam and enter into Jannah. Whereas the Sufiya, they worship Allah Ta'ala for the sake of worshiping Allah Ta'ala. And I think there's a famous quote of what's her name? One of like the second, third century what do you like a tabi'i or tabi'iyah that she said that she was a contemporary of Hassan al-Basri, if I'm remembering correctly. Bi'atul Rai? No, that's okay. She's like I'm not. Yeah, so she one of the early three generations of the Salaf. Okay, so she said that she, it's attributed to her that she would say that she used to make dua that, oh Allah, if I'm only worshiping you just so I can get to Jannah, then don't grant me that. And now over here the Hashia, most likely like Salafi minded people say that وهذا من بدعهم هو من بدعهم لكن المصنف رحمه الله حكاه ولم يعلق عليه, that this is from the bid'i preachers of the Sufiya. I mean, no, okay, like let me just mention this too. For a person to worship Allah Ta'ala only so that they can not only but and one of the reasons of worshiping Allah Ta'ala is that so they can save themselves from Jahannam and enter into Jannah. That's not like sinful. That's not like shirk. That's not nothing bad about that. Okay, I think Bayjuri mentions that too somewhere, and he mentions another level actually below that. Like if you want to argue that, hey, worshiping Allah Ta'ala only so that you can get into not only again, but just so that you can get into Jannah and save yourself from Jahannam, that's of course, yeah, sure, that's a lower level than what we were discussing here of worshiping Allah Ta'ala because of just complete submission, right? And then he actually even mentioned a level below that. I'm forgetting what it was, but that in which this level it's too is also acceptable. Like it's not like a shirk or it's not like something that's going to make someone like a bid'ati or like a mubtadi or anything like that. So of course, if this one's allowed, then this second level of would also be allowed of worshiping Allah Ta'ala because you're just scared of the hellfire. I mean, like that's the what's being conveyed here, of course, what Allah Ta'ala is talking to us about, it's not like the entire Quran is just made up about talking about the sifat of Allah Ta'ala and those things. Allah Ta'ala is not just expressing how amazing He is and how He is worthy to be worshipped, but Allah Ta'ala is pushing us by motivating us to enter into Jannah and um, making us fear the hellfire. Okay. Anyways, وإنه على ذلك لشهيد الضمير للإنسان أي هو شاهد على نفسه بكنوده بكنوده maybe that وإن الإنسان على ذلك على وإن الإنسان indeed mankind indeed man he is لشهيد على ذلك, he is a witness, he himself knows that he is kanud. على ذلك referring to the previous ayah that he's kanud. Okay, man himself is a witness to the fact that he is kanud. وقيل هو الله تعالى على معنى التهديد, or some the a weaker opinion is that this is referring to indeed he referring to Allah Ta'ala is a witness over the kanudness of people. والأول أرجح, the first opinion that I mentioned is the stronger opinion لأن الضمير الذي بعده للإنسان بالاتفاق فيجري الكلام على نسق واحد. And just for the sake of what where does insan come? For the sake of consistency of all the dama'irs, لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ وَإِنَّهُ عَلَى ذَلك, for all the sake of all the dama'irs, it's better to take the opinion that this is referring to insan. وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ, and indeed he, man, لحب الخير, again, you're not going to say, obviously this is not like a random damir that's just randomly coming in referring to Allah Ta'ala. For the sake of consistency, the dama'ir is referring to insan, of course. وإنه لحب الخير أشديد, and indeed his love for khair is intense. الخير هنا المال, المال. Okay, this is referring to wealth. So indeed, his love for wealth is intense. It's severe. كقوله إن ترك خيرا الوصية للوالدين والأقربين. Okay, so again, خير is actually used for the word for wealth in different places as well. He gives a shahid. He gives another ayat in which the word خير is being used for mal, which is Surat al-Baqarah, ayat number 180. I believe that ayah is talking about like of wills and stuff. Like if a person's passing away, then they should leave their khair and distribute it properly amongst the inheritors, the recipients. And of course, that would have to mean his wealth, his assets, and those types of things. والمعنى إن الإنسان شديد الحب للمال فهو ذم لحبه والحرص عليه. So of course, this is saying that the mankind has a innate, or it has a intense love for wealth, and that is something that's blameworthy, and he shouldn't have that attitude. Let's talk about this in a little bit detail. Oh, it's 901. Okay. We could talk. We'll start with this one, inshallah, when we come back on Monday, inshallah. Sorry for going over time. Any questions? No. All right. Again, sorry for going over time, everyone. Inshallah. Oh yeah, go ahead. Good. No, that would be wasatna nun alif, like fa'alna nun fatha alif. What is inshallah?